Associate Editor of The Australian, Jenna Clark, and National Senator Matt Canavan join me now. Welcome to you both. Matt, what is your reaction to these pro-Palestinian protests in Melbourne last night that really targeted the families of those hostages who were taken hostage or people who've been murdered, you know, people who are already suffering so deeply?
Well, it was hard to believe that some of the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, in this case, protesters could go any lower after what we saw at the Opera House when this all started a few weeks ago. But this is really a new low, I think, to confront affected family members of people that have been captured, maimed, brutally treated by a terrorist organisation. It's just totally beyond the pale. I don't know exactly what laws can be applied here, but the full force of the law should be applied if possible. It shouldn't be right to intimidate people like this. And I'm just kind of sick and tired of these groups dividing our country in this sort of way. There are ways that you can appropriately protest on political issues, even ones I don't agree with in this country. But this particular group or groups associated with these pro-Hamas forces have violated those rights so often that they then also threaten the rest of us having those rights, because one of the way our societies work is that we do respect each other, we respect each other's free speech, but we don't act in a way like this. It's absolutely reprehensible.
Yeah. Jen, it feels like none of the authorities are actually able to get a handle on what's going on. You know, we talk the day after about why didn't police arrest those protesters. I mean, we're still saying that. Shouldn't the lessons have been learnt already after the Opera House? And then you've got, you know, the Education Department and the Education Minister saying follow the Code of Conduct, and teachers are so emboldened that they write a piece in the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age saying we won't stay silent. They're so intent on indoctrinating students to their view to think Israel is the enemy. What hope do we have for any improvement in anti-Semitism if this is what teachers want to teach their students?
I think, Sherry, this falls completely and squarely at the foot of our leaders. And I think what we saw in Melbourne overnight, you really have to say some of the responsibility lies probably within the Green political movement, because at the end of the day, I mean, I didn't think we could get any lower than seeing high school students or Australian school students protesting, leaving school and protesting around this conflict in Gaza last week. And then we see Senator Mehreen Faruqi standing in front of a sign, basically with a sign that a student was holding, saying that, you know, Israelis are trash. She had no problems putting that on her social media. It wasn't until she was called out that she deleted it. So the fact that we have an absolute lack of leadership in this country about this issue, I'm with you. I'm completely bereft.
Look, to another story today, the Daily Telegraph, James Morrow reveals that multiple departments are racking up quite large bills for acknowledgement to country training. James reports that taxpayers have paid around $100,000 to bring in consultants to help public servants better perform these gestures. Matt Canavan, do you think this is money well spent?
Is that a rhetorical question, Shari? I mean, speaking of new lows, I mean, the government already wasted over $400 million on a referendum that divided the country, and now they're wasting more of your money, albeit, and thankfully not as much, but just still a waste of money here. And so much money gets wasted here in this town in Canberra. It is so frustrating while people are struggling to pay their own bills that there's no discipline being applied on the spending of government's budgets. And ironically, that is one of the reasons you're suffering, or people are suffering in this country right now, is because government spending has been out of control in this government. They boosted the budget a few months ago by the biggest increase in non-COVID years since Kevin Rudd. And it's no surprise, given they seem to lack complete discipline over departmental spending, when you see things like this.
Yeah. Look, on another topic, the Victorian-Allan government is now open to the possibility of legalising recreational cannabis. The Premier, Jacinta Allan, made a confession when she was speaking about this that she has smoked cannabis. Have a look.
It was a long, long time ago, a long, long, long time ago. And I think it's important that we inject a sense of honesty into our contributions on this.
I suppose I should declare I have used, I don't think a criminal approach to this is best. A health-based approach should be best.
Yes. At university, yeah. I tried it, I think it was 3 times. I'm not proud of it, but I tried it.
Jenna, we're seeing this move towards legalising drugs, particularly in the ACT, where they're legalising harder drugs like ice. Do you think this is going to act as a deterrent for teenagers, or do you think legalising it might invite them or might give them the impression that it's actually okay to use these sort of substances?
Yeah, I think the legislation is a really tricky one, Sherry, because I know that the majority of state and territory governments are looking at it, albeit in various degrees of legality and things like that. But I think the responsibility of moving this debate forward really lies with us in the media. And I think we really need to move past this whole, wowzer movement of like asking our politicians, have you ever done dope? Because I'm pretty sure we'd be pretty hard pressed in this day and age that the majority of our boomer and millennial MPs these days probably haven't experimented with cannabis at one point or the other. And I don't mean to be glib about it because, of course, it is an illicit substance, but I think we need to move this forward. And like Tim Pallas was just saying, maybe move this more towards a health issue as opposed to a law and order issue.
Yeah. Well, speaking of illicit substances, Matt Canavan, the federal government is banning the importation of vapes, which the Daily Mail reports will turn 1 million Australians into criminals. But at the same time, as I just mentioned, the ACT is decriminalising drugs like ice. What do you think of this inconsistency?
Well, it's just absurd, the situation, especially here in the ACT, where if you are caught with liquid nicotine, you face a $32,000 fine and or potentially 2 years in jail as a maximum penalty. Whereas if you're caught with cocaine, meth or heroin, it's $100. What is the world going to here? And the Daily Mail's right, over 1.3 million Australians do vape now. I think the government's got no chance of putting this genie back in the bottle. Whatever you think of vaping, their attempt to ban it is only going to force those Australians into a black market, which will be a massive boon for bikie gangs and triads all around the country. They will be laughing to the bank. Meanwhile, we'll do not enough to keep vapes out of schools. That's what the focus should be on. Our enforcement efforts should be on keeping these things out of the hands of school children. I'll be introducing some amendments next week to the government's tobacco legislation to create a legalised, regulated vaping market and sell it. And look, treat it like cigarettes. That's where we should go, just like the rest of the world's gone. And as I say, focus our efforts on schools and cracking down the black market.
Well, I think part of the reason people are turning to vapes is I hear that cigarettes are now about $60 a packet. So people who want to smoke are, moving to other cheaper forms. Matt Canavan, Jenna Clark, thank you both so much for your time.